Pregnant. I don't need you. Those 5 words shattered Isabella's world. The man she trusted, the man she loved, turned his back the moment she revealed her secret. He was a powerful CEO, wealthy, admired, untouchable. She was left, alone, clutching her stomach, with nothing but heartbreak and the life growing inside her. She walked away without looking back, determined to raise her child alone, until the day fate revealed something no one expected. 5 years later, in the middle of a glittering ballroom, his confident smile froze. The same woman he discarded walked in, more radiant than ever. But it wasn't her presence that left him breathless. No, it was the 3 identical little girls at her side, their bright eyes reflecting his own. Triplets, his daughters. And, in that instant, regret tore through him, sharper than any loss he had ever known. Isabella remembered that night like it was carved into her bones. The way Alexander, the youngest, most ruthless CEO in New York, stood in his office, marble floors gleaming under the city lights. His tailored suit, his cold eyes, his heartless words, pregnant. I don't need you. I don't need this. She had begged him to listen, to feel, but Alexander had only seen weakness, distraction, a risk to his empire. Love meant nothing. Family meant nothing. And so, Isabella walked out. Alone, terrified, but determined. The months that followed were brutal. She worked double shifts, swallowed her tears, and prepared for a single child she thought she was carrying. But life had its own plan. Not 1 heartbeat, not 2, 3. Triplets. Isabella Stingle quotes as tears that day were a mixture of fear and awe. She promised them she would never let them feel abandoned, never let them believe they were unwanted. Every night, while exhaustion consumed her, she whispered lullabies to her swelling belly. And when the day finally came, 3 tiny miracles entered the world: Annabelle, Alara, and Grace. Raising 3 daughters wasn't easy. Her small apartment was too cramped, money was too tight, and her heart carried too much weight. But somehow, love made her stronger. Isabella found work as a designer, balancing clients during the day and sleepless nights with the girls. Neighbors admired her strength, but no one truly knew how often she broke down. How often she wondered why Alexander's face still haunted her. Meanwhile, Alexander's empire grew larger. He sat in glass towers, signing billion-dollar deals, dining in luxury hotels, his life a carousel of power. Yet every night, when the champagne ran out and the applause faded, he found himself staring at the ceiling, empty. Something gnawed at him, something he couldn't name. 5 years later, fate intervened. The night of the charity gala, the ballroom glowed with golden chandeliers. Alexander entered in his black tuxedo, his presence commanding. Cameras flashed. People whispered his name with awe. But all of it faded when he saw her. Isabella. She was no longer the fragile woman he had discarded. She was stunning, radiant, her dark hair flowing in waves, her confidence undeniable. But it was what stood beside her that shattered him. 3 little girls. Blonde hair like his, blue eyes like his, dressed in white, holding their mothers' hands. He froze. The room spun. Memories flooded back, her trembling voice, her confession, his cruel dismissal. And now, standing before him, were the consequences of his arrogance. 3 living, breathing truths he could no longer deny. Alexander's chest tightened, his throat burned. For the first time in years, regret carved into him like fire. He tried to move toward them, but Isabella's eyes stopped him cold. They were sharp, unyielding, filled with the pain he had caused. And in that moment, Alexander realized the empire he built, the power he owned. None of it could erase the damage of one heartless choice. To be continued. Part 2, 1000 words. I will continue this part with more emotional depth, showing how Alexander tries to win their trust, Isabella's resistance, and the children's innocent curiosity. Part 3, 1000 words. I will then write the climax where Alexander breaks down. The truth is revealed to the girls, and Isabella must decide whether forgiveness is possible. CTA 150 words. And there, under the golden lights of the ballroom, stood a man stripped of his pride and a woman holding the future he once rejected. The triplets, unaware of the storm swirling around them, simply smiled, their innocence softening hearts that had been broken for too long. But would Isabella allow Alexander back into their lives? Could a man who once walked away truly deserve a second chance? Or was this his punishment, to watch his daughters grow from afar, forever marked by the night? He said, I don't. Nietzsche, what would you do if you were Isabella? Would you forgive for the sake of family, or close the door forever to protect your children? The moment Isabella's eyes met his, Alexander felt smaller than he ever had in his life. The man who once ruled boardrooms with an iron tongue, who built skyscrapers and crushed rivals, was powerless in front of the woman he had destroyed. He wanted to run to her, to explain, to beg for forgiveness, but Isabella's cold, composed stare told him she didn't come here for him. She came here despite him. The gala host announced her as a guest of honor for her successful charity, a foundation for single mothers. The room applauded as Isabella walked gracefully to her table, her 3 daughters clinging to her hands. Their innocence radiated like light in a hall filled with shadows. Alexander couldn't take his eyes off them. The girls looked exactly like him. Same golden hair, same ocean blue eyes. And when one of them tilted her head with a curious little smile, he felt his heart break. They don't even know who I am. He moved closer. Isabella. His voice cracked, a sound so unlike the commanding tone people feared in board meetings. She turned, her face calm, her lips pressed tightly together. Don't, she whispered, shielding her daughters behind her. The girls peeked out curiously. Mommy, who's that man? One asked in the softest voice. Isabella's heart trembled, but her expression remained stone. Just someone we used to know, she said, forcing a smile for her daughters. Alexander's chest constricted. Just someone. That was all he had been reduced to. Later that night, when the girls were distracted by the gala's dessert table, he approached Isabella again. You never told me, he said quietly. You never told me they were mine. Isabella's laughter was bitter, sharp. Told you. You told me you didn't need me. You told me you didn't need this. Why would I ever drag my daughters into the arms of a man who already abandoned them before they were even born? Alexander's eyes burned with shame. He wanted to argue, to defend himself, but what excuse could he give? That he was too ambitious, too afraid of love. That his empire mattered more than family. None of it mattered now. I was wrong, he admitted, his voice trembling. Every night, Isabella, every night, I wondered why I felt so empty. And now I know it was them. It was you. I missed everything that mattered. Isabella looked at him, tears threatening her eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. Regret doesn't change the past. My girls don't need an apology. They need stability. They need safety. They need love, and I've given them that without you. Alexander's chest tightened. He wanted to fall to his knees, to beg for a chance, but Isabella turned away, gathering her daughters. But fate wasn't finished. As the night went on, the triplets grew more curious. One of them, Alara, tugged at Isabella's dress and whispered, Mommy, that man keeps staring at us. He looks sad. Isabella knelt down, brushing her daughter's golden hair back. Don't worry, sweetheart. Sometimes adults carry sadness. They can't hide. But then, Annabelle, the boldest of the 3, marched straight up to Alexander. Everyone gasped softly as the little girl looked up at the tall man in the tuxedo and asked, Why do your eyes look like mine? Alexander's breath caught. He knelt to her level, his voice breaking. Because I think you're a part of me. The entire room seemed to fall silent. Isabella froze, fear flooding her heart. Grace and Alara rushed to their sisters' side, all 3 staring at the man with innocent curiosity. Are you our daddy? Grace whispered. Isabella's heart stopped. She had shielded them for so long, had promised herself she would never let them feel the sting of abandonment. She wasn't ready for this. Not tonight. Alexander swallowed hard, tears welling in his eyes. For once, the man who owned everything, power, wealth, influence, had nothing to say. He simply nodded, whispering, Yes, I am. And I am so sorry I wasn't here. The girls blinked, processing the truth. Then, as only children can, they smiled. We have a daddy, Annabelle said softly, as though discovering a hidden treasure. Isabella's eyes filled with tears she couldn't hold back. She had built walls around her heart for 5 long years, but watching her daughters hug the man who once broke her, the man who had just admitted his deepest regret, shattered her. The ballroom, filled with strangers, became the stage of a story no one would forget. Alexander reached out carefully, afraid to touch, afraid to lose, while Isabella stood trembling, torn between anger and the undeniable truth that her daughters had just found the father they never knew. The gala seemed to dissolve around them. The glittering chandeliers, the music, the chatter of wealthy guests, all of it blurred into nothing. The only thing that mattered in that moment was the fragile reunion unfolding in the center of the ballroom. The triplets clung to Alexander's hands as though they had always known him, their small fingers wrapped around his, their smiles bright and unguarded. To them, he wasn't the ruthless CEO feared in boardrooms. He was just daddy. But for Isabella, the scene was agony. Her heart twisted as she watched the girls laugh, the man who once broke her kneeling in tears. How many nights had she stayed awake, terrified of failing them? How many times had she told herself they didn't need a father? And yet, in less than 5 minutes, the girls had accepted him with open arms. Isabella pulled herself together, forcing her voice to be steady. "Girls, it's time to go." The triplets pouted in unison, reluctant to leave Alexander's side. Whispered, "But mommy, we found daddy." The words pierced her heart. She glanced at Alexander, who looked utterly broken, not by arrogance, but by humility. His eyes begged for another chance. Later that night, after the gala ended, Alexander waited outside. When Isabella emerged with the girls, he stepped forward. "Please," he said softly, "let me talk to you. Just once. Not as a CEO, not as the man who hurt you, but as a father who wants to be better." Isabella hesitated. Every instinct told her to protect her daughters, to shield them from disappointment. But another part of her, the part that still remembered his touch, his laugh, the man she once loved, whispered that maybe he deserved a chance to prove himself. Reluctantly, she agreed. They sat in a quiet cafe across from the hotel, the girls giggling over hot chocolate while Alexander spoke with a rawness Isabella had never seen before. "I was young, foolish," he admitted, his voice trembling. "I thought love was weakness. I thought family was a distraction. But nothing has haunted me more than the night I let you walk away. And when I saw them tonight, our daughters, I realized what I threw away wasn't just you, it was the greatest gift life could ever give me." Isabella's eyes filled with tears. "You don't get to erase 5 years of silence with a speech, Alexander. You weren't there for their first steps, their first words, their nights of fever when I thought I'd lose them. You weren't there when I broke myself just to keep food on the table. I did all of that alone. You don't get to swoop in now and act like a hero." Her words sliced through him, but he didn't flinch. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "You're right, I can never get those years back. I don't deserve forgiveness, but please, don't punish them for my mistakes. Let me try, let me show you that I can be better." The triplets looked between them, sensing the tension but too innocent to understand its depth. Annabelle climbed into Isabella's lap, whispering, "Mommy, I like him. He makes me feel safe." The weight of those words broke something inside Isabella. For years, she had been everything for them: mother, father, provider, protector. But maybe they deserved the chance to know the man who had finally fallen to his knees for them. And so, slowly, carefully, Isabella allowed Alexander into their world. Not as a lover, not as a partner, but as a father trying to earn the right to be called one. Weeks turned into months. Alexander showed up at school recitals, held their hands during doctor visits, read bedtime stories he never knew existed. He wasn't perfect. The girls laughed at how clumsy he was with ponytails and how nervous he got during dance practice. But he was present. For the first time, he was present. Isabella watched from the sidelines, her heart torn. Every smile from the girls made her ache with joy and sorrow. She couldn't deny that Alexander had changed. But could she trust him with her heart again? The answer came one rainy evening. Grace fell sick, her fever spiking dangerously high. Panic consumed Isabella as memories of past sleepless nights returned. But this time, she wasn't alone. Alexander rushed her to the hospital, carrying Grace in his arms, refusing to leave her side. He wept openly, praying under his breath, begging for her to recover. When the doctor finally announced she would be fine, Alexander collapsed in relief. He turned to Isabella, his face streaked with tears. "I can't lose them," he whispered. "I can't lose you. I wasted 5 years, I won't waste another second. Please, give me a chance. Not just as their father, as your partner, as your husband." Isabella froze. The girls were asleep in the hospital bed, their little breaths steady. She looked at Alexander, no longer the arrogant CEO, no longer the man who once said, "I don't need you." He was different now, humbled, broken, rebuilt. Her heart pounded. Could she risk it? Could she open the door again to the man who once abandoned her? She reached out, touching his trembling hands. "If you want us," she said softly, "you don't get to walk away this time. You fight for us. Every single day." until the girls know, without a doubt, that their father will never leave again. Tears streamed down Alexander's face as he nodded. I swear it. And in that quiet hospital room, with their daughters sleeping between them, Isabella finally allowed hope to bloom again. And so, the man who once turned his back on love found himself humbled by it. The woman who raised 3 miracles alone finally allowed herself to believe in second chances. And the triplets, innocent, radiant, full of life, became the bond that mended what was once broken. But love is never without risk. Can Alexander truly prove himself worthy, or will his past mistakes haunt him forever? Can Isabella truly forgive, or will the fear of heartbreak always keep her guarded? Life rarely gives us a second chance. But when it does, it asks for courage. If you were Isabella, would you take him back, or would you shut the door forever? Subscribe for more stories of love, heartbreak, and redemption, and join us on the next journey where fate, forgiveness, and family collide.